the kidney stones making? Have the kidney stones arrived yet? Do you think? Have the kidney stones have arrived?
Okay.
I'm not actually
They're not hurting yet.
going to do a CT scan.
Welcome to the last meeting. Would you like to start
Yes.
with the webcast notice?
Is the camera supposed to be pointing in that direction?
We can see you.
They can see me. Okay, lovely. Okay, so I'm Councillor Nick Bridges, Chair of the Land and Property Committee. And we're meeting today on Tuesday, the 13th of February. The meeting may be filmed by the council. In fact, it is being filmed by the council. And for live and subsequent broadcast online. All of the meeting will be filmed. The footage will be on the YouTube channel indefinitely and may be used for training purposes within the council. If you make a representation to the meeting, you will be deemed to have consented to be filmed. By entering the meeting room, you are also consenting to be filmed and to the possible use of these images and sound recordings for webcasting and/or training purposes. Great, so that over. Shall we start with apologies, Mark?
Yeah. So we have Sabrina and Andrea
Okay.
and Naomi.
You want
Sorry.
his surname, shouldn't it?
Councillor Bloom.
Councillor Poole, Councillor
Dixon.
Bloomer, yes, and
Councillor Telegram.
Telegram, thank you. Great, okay, declarations of interest. Anyone want anything to say?
Declaring interest in the men's shed committee as part of the proceedings as a secretary of the Cirencester men's shed.
Okay, good stuff. Anybody else?
Say I'm substituting for one of the people who've given their apologies.
Oh, yes.
I think, in fact, Sabrina.
She got in there first, didn't she?
Mm-hmm.
So, interesting that there isn't actually a point for that, is there? Okay, moving on to point number 4. The minutes of the last meeting. Does anyone have anything to raise about that? Would those people there like to give their approval? Yep, so that's unanimous. Public participation. If a member of the public wishes to speak at the meeting or would like to submit correspondence, they are asked to notify the Chief Executive in advance, no later than 5 p.m. on the day before the meeting. So we have a couple of people from the public, which is lovely to see, but no information was received in advance. Member participation. That's different. Anyone, any member participation? Anybody want to ask the chair a question? No. Moving on. Point number 7, the work programme. To receive updates and consider timelines for delivering the work programme for 2023 to 24 as approved by the council. Mark.
So we're into our winter maintenance programme as we speak. I have a copy here. It covers all of the open spaces that we have. You're welcome to have a look at the areas later. If anyone's got any questions regarding the winter maintenance, there's a lot of the details here. So, anyone with any comments?
Okay.
Is it on target?
Yes, yeah, we're well ahead actually. Yeah, we're well ahead.
So
Could we have it possibly circulated by?
Yes, certainly. I'll update it and circulate it for you.
okay. Would it help if I went through these 6.1, 6.2, because that really is just 6.1, isn't it?
Yeah, you can do.
I'm only mentioning that because of the point 6.2 is the short-term improvements to the obelisk community room. I think is that mentioned somewhere else? No.
So updates as far as the improvements, we're really looking to get some firm bookings before we commit any money to improvements to sort of stress test the fact that someone would want to hire the place out before we spend thousands of pounds on the building first. We're hoping that we're taking a viewing this week and hope to have some bookings so we can get some maintenance organised very shortly, particularly with the toilets.
And we just acknowledge that a resident here, Bill Alliston, is involved with the men's shed. Just like to thank you for your custom, and all good you do there.
Chair, could I just ask what short-term improvements are envisaged? It's mentioned, isn't it?
There's an issue with the drainage for the sewer. It's just we believe that there's some tree root problems with the drains, so that would be quite costly to fix. And at the moment, I believe that they're only using the female toilets and the urinal. So it'd be good to get the toilets fully functional and get the drains cleared.
Is that it?
Yeah, at present. I mean, we will be going and cutting all the trees back. We've done some work with cutting the branches back just to protect the building and to clear the guttering. But the grounds team can do that.
We don't think the side door of the place is particularly secure in the sense it's falling out of the wall.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, that's it's not a health and safety issue.
Yeah, so I have to inspect that. I know that it was loose, and then Chris said to me that it's been an issue for quite a long time and not to worry. But if it's becoming looser, then I'll have a look at it for you.
Right. Lovely. 6.4 is the Norman Arch, will that be covered under green
Chair.
spaces? Oh, okay.
Update on 6.3.
6.3, income streams and funding opportunities.
We are exploring them. Any updates?
We are exploring to the point of seeing what we can get, what's higher we can get through the OCR. We have explored a number of revenue streams. We are actually reviewing, as you know, we're reviewing all of the costs and charges as well. We're also looking to see if we can work closer with the Stratton Youth to help us sort of keep our costs lower at the Kings Hill site. And that would mean them sort of managing the pitches, the adult pitches for us, so that would reduce our costs. So it's income streams as well as costs, really, isn't it? It's getting your fixed costs down. Anything else? We have got some logs today because we're felling a tree, and we're going to be offering that out to actually to sell off the logs to sort of offset the cost of the felling of the tree. So anything that we can do, we will investigate and carry out.
Thank you. Okay. Moving on, 6.4, to consider future uses of the Norman Arch and Cottage in support of the strategic review, also known as green spaces. We are doing something on that, aren't we?
Yes, it's a very long-term project.
I can speak to it. So, as you know, this is in support of the Green Spaces strategic review, and the group is, we're arranging to have the first meeting shortly. Some of the members are part of that group as well. So that's as much as we're doing so far.
Okay.
The group's been set up.
But we have noticed that there are some repairs that need doing, and we're looking to tender on that. Do you want to address that, or is that?
Well, there was the planning permission that was granted
Yes.
to do some.
We will
That's
eventually go out to tender.
Yeah. So planning permissions, that's great, lovely.
Yeah.
6.5, to
Sorry,
utilise.
Chair, could I,
Oh, I'm
before you
sorry.
leap on,
Councillor Selwyn?
I know we have internally asked if anyone wants to join a particular working group. have we broadened that out to potential people that may not be councillors but may have something significant to add in terms of that? My thoughts are, wearing my other hat, I'm a member of the Civic Society. On the board of the Civic Society, we have 2 planners and 1 architect. They clearly have interesting points and views, and their expertise might be quite worthwhile. I've no idea whether an internal working group could be expanded. I think it potentially could. So I'm not suggesting it. I'm merely asking, is there an opportunity within our terms of reference where we can think, does anybody have anybody else that can? You're going to answer that now.
So I've consulted with the CEO about this because I'm drafting the terms of reference.
I emailed you, didn't I, about that?
Yes,
Thank
in order to respond to you, I spoke to Andrew. He hasn't got back to me yet. I understand that subgroups can draft on experts to consult on things. So I would imagine the answer is yes. We have got 9 members of the group already, so it's quite a big group. So whether it's they come in for certain bits rather than a member of the group, I'm not sure. I'm consulting with Andrew to come back to you, and the group will have terms of reference in the first meeting.
Super. Thank you very much. Thank you.
And 6.5, to utilise tree planting opportunities on town council land.
So there are some plans with Jack Gardeners. Spoke to Bill in the past about possibilities of
Wrong bill.
about the area from Borton Lane. Unfortunately, a lot of that area is Crown land, so it'd be very difficult to actually for us to take any part in planting trees.
Councillor Coleman.
Well, I was having my hand up, and then you said something about Bourton Lane, so I'll come back to that. Yeah, with regard to the Jack Garden Memorial Gardens, have we still got the sign waiting to be erected sitting in the depot? It was there about 5 years ago. Been there a few years then, just saying Jack Gardner.
Possibly, but
But
been told not to use those signs.
oh, right, okay. The thing I was thinking about was, are we able to choose trees which have the property of moving more water from the soil into the air than other trees? Do we have a range of suitable trees that also have that characteristic of helping to drain the land upwards? I'm not very good at biology, am I?
Know what you meant.
So I can respond.
There was already an answer.
Oh, sorry, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, we work with the ecologist who's part of the wildlife wildlife siren. That's the one City Bank, the wildlife group,
Yeah.
the Basin City Bank. They came and they've drawn up a plan taking into the different levels of flooding that area experiences. So we've got a tree planting plan. We just haven't got the funds to buy the trees to plant them at present. So we are ready to go in terms of the plan is there with the appropriate trees where they should be planted that will improve the flood resilience of that area, but we haven't got the trees, the money to get the trees.
So we're waiting on funding.
Yeah.
Does it count as part of the Gloucestershire County Council's Plant a Million Trees scheme? Is that?
Haven't explored that yet. I've had there was talk off the back of the symposium that's happening later this year that might be a project that could link in with that, which might have funding that comes with it. So that's where I had it in mind.
Councillor Coleman.
Yeah, we also, I think, allow memorial planting there. And presumably, therefore, we could tell people who wish to plant a tree in memory to choose one of the suitably anti-flood tree sort. But yes, thank you very much. I thought you're really, as usual, you're ahead of me. What was that about Bourton Lane and Crown Land?
Borton Lane is just a suggestion, just to investigate the possibility of planting some trees on the amenity land. Most of the amenity land is Crown land.
But isn't it just called Crown Land because the builders went broke? Don't think it originally belonged to them. Yeah, it's in the original
land, so we wouldn't be planting on it.
There's be a way around this. The Crown doesn't want it.
No, nor do we want the actual liability of it.
Mm.
to be honest.
Right, so, I must protest in a very gentle way that amenity land is the heart of Stratton. A substantial number of dozens of houses front it or back it. Without it, the place would be a bit of a brick jungle.
Hmm.
And whether or not planting trees on it should be done is, first of all, a matter to ask the residents, but secondly, to check why anybody in Crown Land, which must be a back office somewhere in London, but what on earth are they doing? They don't pay for it, look after it, get any rent for it or anything. It's just, the builder went broke, who's got the land? Anyway, they wouldn't have anything to say about it if they wouldn't notice, but we shouldn't plant anything without consultation. But equally, I'm glad to hear it is Crown Land.
Yeah, I mean, that's the conclusion we come to begin with, when first investigating that area. So that's where it stops, really, because, there's no, if you look at the trees that are on Crown Land where we cut grass, we're allowed to cut the grass, we're insured to cut the grass, we're not insured to touch the trees. And this is where the rub can come with some residents where they feel that they've seen us working around the tree, but we won't touch the tree, and they'll ask us to, and it's very frustrating for all concerned, really. But it would be a bit irresponsible of us to plant something we couldn't touch and tender, really, because we wouldn't be insured for it.
I'll leave this in the hands of my more expert green colleagues.
We move on.
Okay.
Point number 8, the work programme review 2023 to 24. To review how progress on the work programme for the last year, to review how progress on the work programme for the last year, that's not English, and identify any priorities to undertake by the end of the tax year. So basically the tax year is coming to an end in about 6 weeks' time.
Mm-hmm.
So how are things going, Mark?
We're about, as far as money's concerned,
Why not?
I would say we're probably about 80% spent on the office side, which is just about spot on, but I wouldn't like any surprises.
Okay. Good.
Sorry, that's an opportunity for anyone who wants us to prioritise anything that's on this year's work programme. What do we want us to focus on for the last 6 weeks if we're not already focusing on it in a way that you think is appropriate?
Okay. Anyone want to jump in?
If I may, well, without having a list in front of me of sort of red, amber, green of really what I'm keen on, is there anything that has been tasked with being done before the end of the year that we are not going to achieve?
No, I would say the only things that are real bugbears are things like the carousel in the Abbey grounds, which is a costly thing that keeps on being evident that we really need it fixed. It was my thinking that something like that, it's an operational responsibility to keep these things functional. And if we had the money at the end of the financial year, then we could possibly,
And
with councillor's blessing, to get that done.
because I've noticed the sand pit is being moved.
We're moving the sandpit to assist with the maintenance of the carousel.
Okay. So does that mean that the carousel will be fixed?
Roundabout.
We're in the play area.
Yeah.
It doesn't go around.
Is there sand stuck in the mechanism?
There's nothing wears out quicker than playground kit.
Well, that's been worn out for a long time.
It hasn't gone round for.
I thought you were going to say you can remember.
Since Zebedee was playing there, yeah. So is that likely to be fixed this financial year, or is that going to be?
Depends on what funds we have left and what we can go out to. I think we really need to look at and challenge the figures that we have so that we can get it fixed. It's the only piece of exercise equipment that is accessible to a disabled person. So it's vital, really.
Yeah. Okay.
There's nothing sadder than watching someone try to use it in the chair and, and not be able to use any other equipment.
Mm.
And, we're trying to live in an inclusive world. So I think it's vital.
Yeah, just to endorse that point, and it's well made. But yes, we're advertising the piece of play equipment that you see,
Mm.
and if you've got grandchildren in there, which I will have in 2 days, they will spot it there, and they will expect to be able to use it there.
Yeah.
And it's only when you actually get on it you find you can't push the thing.
Yeah.
So we're actually advertising something to everybody that doesn't work, and you can't cover it up. Once we had a bit of string around it, didn't we?
No. Yeah.
Either solution isn't acceptable, really, is it?
Yeah. And well, it boils down to not having the money to fix it at the moment. Moving on. Point number 9, the work programme preparation for 2024 to 25. To discuss members' priorities for the work programme and also consider 9.1, updating the management plan for St Michael's Park, and 9.2, updating the management plan for Citibank Local Nature Reserve. Where would you like to start, Mark?
Well, is there anything that you would like to concentrate on in 24, 25? Does anyone get any ideas?
Right. I'm looking around the room. Any priorities? Yes?
Well, in terms of St Michael's Park, I mean, it is our green flag award-winning park. It's starting to look as though it needs money spent on it. We've got those rocks where the slide used to be, which has fallen into complete disuse because we took out the slide years ago.
The slide's still there.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
It's just it's got rocks down the bottom end. So
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think we designed that now with ROSPA and things like that. I think we probably would struggle to get away with that. My general point would be that I would always like to see if we possibly can raise any money to improve or change the play equipment across town. I know we've got lots of sites, but St Michael's Park's listed on the agenda here.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm very keen on upgrading, if we can, the signage. The people that play Bull have asked me on a couple of occasions if they can have the sand redone in the Petonk
Yes.
area.
Yeah.
I know they contacted you
We
about
do.
that.
Yeah, we do it. I mean, to be honest, they're so on it and knowledgeable. We just sort of wait for them to ask.
Yeah, great. And the other thing in St Michael's Park, we used to have 2 goals. We now have 1 because of continual damage.
Yes.
Then it would be lovely to have 2 goals at some point when budget permits. We've got the cricket nets that disappeared
Yeah.
because you don't know where they are, do you? We did have 2 very impressive cricket nets that were up there for 2 seasons. Then they didn't reappear, and we genuinely don't know where they are, which is a shame.
Yes.
So I'd like to see the cricket nets potentially at some point. Again, it's all about the money. So, and the only other thing that I would like to see in most parks would be when we are doing something in terms of digging holes, replacing equipment, zoning off trees, would be signage telling the public this is what we're doing and why. And I think we know what we're doing and why, but I always think it could be more interesting, more helpful. And I get lots of feedback from different groups about why are we doing this? Why aren't we saying what's happening?
That's a good point.
And there was a missed opportunity in the Abbey grounds.
With that interesting hole,
Yes.
which had the original brick wall, I believe, of a bit that was knocked down 400 years ago. But we didn't, and we would have had an archaeological excavation done on that as well. I actually asked the chief exec when that hole was still there, although I think it was filled in the day after that. This is an opportunity, chief exec, to have a sign up saying what you can see in this hole may be this. And because we live in a town like this, I think what we really should be telling people, for example, that behind Councillor Coleman came from St Michael's Park. We could easily have a picture of that laminated somewhere, potentially in St Michael's Park, saying There was a villa here, and if you go to the Carinian Museum, you can see the flooring. Here's a picture of it. It's actually up there on the wall. You wouldn't know that came from St Michael's
No.
Park because we don't say anything.
No.
Even down to the fact that when Time Team were in St Michael's Park and they had a stone carver carving out the bottom of that obelisk that's still there, we don't say anything about that obelisk, do we?
No.
We don't say
It's a-
this was done for Time Team on this day to celebrate this.
Yeah.
So there's nothing about, and again, they found some of the original shops that are going through St Michael's Park, just off the main park. There's a half a dozen row of shops that they uncovered. We don't indicate that in St Michael. We don't tell people about that. I can understand why, because you would really want to have another person working in Cirencester Town Council, picking up opportunities to celebrate and inform people about our history.
It could be part of the management plan for it going forward.
Yeah.
And so,
That would be fascinating.
Funds permitting, because I would say exactly the same thing about Citibank. There's a lot of interesting things down there, and it's very easy to walk through that area without knowing any of them.
So,
Yes.
but as you know, council agreed to put £80,000 towards green spaces, play areas and public facilities. So that is the figure we have for the next financial year. So when you're thinking about which playgrounds would you like to prioritise, that's the equivalent of one piece roughly of play equipment for each playground. Do we want to do that? Do we want to focus on certain areas? Do we want to increase heritage awareness in certain of our sites? That's sort of what we need to put on the work programme. I'm aware that not all of our committee members are here today, apologies. So we can take into account what's been discussed today, draw up a proposal that we then discuss further. Hopefully all of our members will be here in April meeting.
yeah, and plug it through that.
And then vote it through then. But yeah, that's sort of what we're setting in this.
Well, the priority has to be health and safety first. Just check things are not deteriorating beyond a certain stage. Yeah, okay. Moving on.
Well, just to add on the Citibank, for example, you could have a sign up there saying you are now walking on the top of the Roman wall.
Yes,
You
exactly.
wouldn't know you were.
Yep.
Unless you happen to know it was the Roman wall, because we don't tell people.
Yeah.
So that's another example of just we can inform the public more about the heritage assets that we're looking after. I guess so.
There's also things like, do we want to introduce picnic benches which are more accessible? Do we want to add more benches to our parks? These are the sort of things we need from members so we can guide us to either look at grant funding or how you want us to spend this budget. So it's really your chance to say, this is what we want to achieve for our residents this year. This is the chance to set that programme. So, yeah.
Consequently, it would be nice to have a sort of price list.
Well, if we don't know what you want, we can't get a price list.
Well, if you,
But we have to do this in conjunction with the Green Spaces Committee.
No, this is operational. This is separate.
operational.
This is extra money for the.
Okay, good.
Yeah, because I know Councillor Bloomer was very keen on benches, wasn't she? So I raised that on her behalf as well, that she wanted several more benches in Michael's Park.
Yeah.
And potentially elsewhere. And again, completely valid requests, of course.
Yeah.
We can't do them all. But it's a very valid point she makes.
So I'm putting extra benches in the play area in the Abbey grounds at the moment. But you know, when you start talking about benches, you could do with probably 3 around the Beaches estate, and you know, it's So we can get some more benches for certain, but it would be good if people could come back to us, have a think about it, and come back to us, and we can also make a list, can't we, for the next meeting?
Great.
So we can defer that item to the next agenda, but I sent out a couple of emails reminding people that they need to bring their thoughts to this meeting. So it's important that we consider that what's on the agenda is what we're discussing that meeting. So we can defer because we need to also include our other councillors.
Yeah.
But just make sure we're prepared for the next meeting, because that's how we're going to set out our year, our plans, our budgeting.
I mean, I appreciate that, but we're also being told that we have limited funds to spend, so.
But the council
we don't-
agreed £80,000 for this budget for this year. So that's what we have to spend in 24-25 on delivering these services. And if our residents see we're not delivering anything, they can think, well, that's our reputation. We're paying our council tax. Where's the money being spent? Why are you not delivering anything?
Good.
Could I then suggest, bearing in mind that admittedly I was obviously post-op recovery, so you haven't got anything from me, should we, along with a minute, suggest that potentially to all councillors, they have a certain time period, not drag it onto the next meeting, but to give them, say, 2 weeks to give you any further thoughts on how they would want that £80,000 allocated. Then after 2 weeks, you know that you can then take away whatever you've got or lack of what you've got and come up with your own plan. Otherwise, we're just going to end up waiting another.
Yeah, this has to be voted on by council. So it's either going to be approved by council, advised by Land and Property that this is how the best way to spend this money. So I think we have a next Land and Property before the next council meeting. So if we do actually suggest that's going and come to the next Land and Property with a prepared list that can be voted on to go to council. Sounds like a way forward.
And could I just further request then that you give at least some headings that say some of the things that we could potentially spend money on would be, and then just a basic list, because a list is an easier prompt than a blank bit of paper. Lead people a bit towards relevance.
We're ready? Okie dokie, moving on to point 10. The National Tennis Association to review and vote on the arrangement with National Tennis Association in St Michael's Park.
So, as discussed before, the Tennis Association has been there for a number of years. Now it's come to the end of the licence to operate in St Michael's Park. It wants to put it in some form of an agreement, a lease. The National Tennis Association have broken a couple of the conditions, the financial conditions for refurbing the courts and keeping the kiosk open. Any points that anyone would like to ask, or points that you'd like to make?
I'll come in. I mean, I appreciate the work the Tennis Association have done there, and I've seen in action on various meetings. I think it's very good and it's very helpful that their presence is there and they're operating it. I'm disappointed that they haven't found it economic to open the cafe throughout the whole year. But in terms of foot traffic, I'm certainly not surprised that it's obviously become, or they're aware that it is uneconomic. And I don't see any relevance in insisting that it is open throughout the entire year, because economically that will be simply cost them money that is not going to provide any sort of return on them. So provided there's a clear understanding that it is open from just before Easter through the summer, I think that's a reasonable compromise that the town council could make, and let others consider whether that they think that's reasonable. And then my understanding is we then simply have another year of this current arrangement, accepting that it's not open throughout the winter period. And in terms of upgrading the courts, was there any timing of when the courts were going to be upgraded, or was it simply an idea that the NTA would at some point upgrade it?
They were going to upgrade them within the next 5 years. And they've clearly not taken the amount of turnover that they wish to take to cover that. And they've suggested that we go into partnership with them and spread the costs.
And presumably that's something that we would discuss when we come to discuss next year's budget,
Yeah.
because we clearly can't afford to do that and commit to doing anything about that now, can we?
Yeah.
Also, there's an issue with the lights in, just to say that, we have also got some considerations to finance with the lights, because they do need upgrading and they do need some repairs. I couldn't tell you how much yet, but I imagine it to be around about £5,000.
Which of course might give us more problems if we're going to spend £5,000 on lighting, then the prospect of us being able to spend in the same financial year another £3,000 or whatever share it is deemed to be for our share of restoring tennis courts may not be applicable for next year then.
Yeah.
Presumably the lights are more important than the tennis, the surface.
Well, that'd be a health and safety issue, wouldn't it?
Yeah. I mean, most of the tennis is played in the evening after work. So yeah, there's some lights that you do need lights. You need a good quality, high grade light to see a tennis ball flying through the air. There's, some positives about the NTA, as they have, made the park more welcoming, which is what we're trying to achieve.
Yeah.
And having some sort of someone there keeps it a safe space, and also reduces antisocial behaviour.
Do we know whether, the upgrade to the surface, do we know whether the surface is still safe?
The surface, it hasn't been, he hasn't suggested that the surface is unsafe. We demoss, and that's under the agreement as well. So we go around and make sure that it's a safe surface. There are a couple of ruts in the surface, but it does need doing. It's coming to the end of its sort of expected time of use. That's why I advised really that we gave them another year just to see if we could sort of see where we are placed.
Yes.
This time next year, really.
Yeah. Okay. So again, the shortage of money issue to some extent.
I mean, we're lucky in a way. You could say we're lucky in a way that we've got a partner that wants to be there.
Yeah.
So.
And they make good coffee too. Good stuff. All right. Moving on.
So the suggestion is that I go back to them.
Yeah. So we're going to vote on this, haven't we?
Yeah, please.
Okay. What shall we say? So the proposal is that we note the break in the contract, and that we review our situation, and go back to them with a view to extending the contract by just 1 year for the time being. Is that correct, Mark?
That's
So
right.
should we vote on that?
Sorry, could we be clear with them about when we expect the kiosk to be open?
Yeah.
Because, and are we talking, because the original agreement was 7 days a week, was it not?
7 days a week.
Yeah, because clearly Saturdays and Sundays in the summer are going to be really busy. So I think we need to be very clear with them about we cannot cooperatively help any funding on repairing the courts until we look at the budget for next year.
Yeah.
And that 2, we are prepared to accept the seasonal opening of the kiosk in the light of the uneconomic circumstances opening all day long. But I would want to be specific about when we expect them to open the kiosk. And we actually have dates down so that we can ourselves monitor it.
Dates and times, yeah.
And are we clear that we want 7-day opening? not just weekend.
I don't have a view. I think it's absolutely vital that we have Saturday and Sunday in the summer. Because that's the peak days. In terms of, I mean, I think we could obviously leave it to our officer to go back and negotiate. Would they have any problems with 7 day a week? And if not, would we do it 5 days a week, not Monday or Tuesday, for example? I mean, I don't want to come across as unreasonable. I just want to come across as knowing when it's going to be open from our point of view.
I mean, they should have some data, they should have some turnover data for last year's season. So they should know what is the quietest day in the week to, if they have to close. And then they can be open a weekend. I think, you know, they did have the spirit of trying to keep open 7 days a week. They had some staffing issues, and that was the main times that they went. It was a bit unexpected that they closed when they did for the winter, because I didn't realise, he didn't give me any notice that he was going to close just a couple of days beforehand. But I will ask for some turnover figures as well, so we get a grip on what sort of money that they're taking.
Brilliant. Okay. So,
The other thing is opening the tennis court different from opening the cafe?
The tennis courts are on a booking system,
Yeah.
and the gate opens
Oh, right.
for so that you don't have to go and get it open for
No.
work. Excuse me, it's independent.
you feel we voted on this? You
Need show of hands.
You don't need to show hands.
okay? I'll show hands. Yes. There
Thank
you go. Good. Point number 11, the Churn Community Shed update, a verbal update on the progress of the project at Kings Hill.
Okay, so the Kings Hill site is being prepared at the moment. We will have we'll have a meter in place for the electric, so we can build the electric. And I'm quite sure that in the next couple of months they will be in place and operational. They're getting their fence erected very shortly as well.
Any comments? No? Oh,
Are we building a surface for them to put the?
They are building their
They're building-
surface, yeah. It's all at their expense. And we're charging them for electric.
Yeah.
And we're charging them ground rent.
okay. Right. Moving on to point 12 then, fees and charges. 12.1, to vote on the changes to the allotment charges. We'll speak to that.
Yeah, this is just to have a vote on what was, we discussed at length in the November meeting allotment charges. So this is just to vote through what was discussed, the end result of those discussions, which
Yeah.
is £60 for a full plot across all of our sites, £30 for a half plot, £15 for a quarter plot. And then we're introducing an admin fee of £15, which is VAT applicable, a key fee for £6, and retaining the deposit of £50, which will be returned when they return their allotment in good shape.
That strikes me as being very clear, as the previous ones weren't so clear. Anybody else have any comments to make on that?
Is that standardised throughout every site?
Correct, yeah.
So the same price all through the town? Folks.
Easy, yeah. Any more comments? No?
Just one query about the Purley Planters. That's the allotment at the back of Purley Road,
Yes.
which was originally the district council. I believe the town council bought it for £1 or bought the licence to operate it for £1.
That's right.
some of the allotment owners, because I'm the local councillor, have asked me about the trees at the back of that next to the stream, which are now pretty huge and overhanging and stopping the growth of the fruit and veg.
Yeah.
I said to them that there would be a whole number of organisations that wouldn't want to accept responsibility for that. And I presume it's not CTC land, those trees by the stream.
I would have to have a look at it.
Could you?
Yeah.
Because I need to go back to them with an answer.
I won't, yeah,
I've already
I won't-
managed their
I won't-
expectations and said,
I won't guess.
and said, if it's the town or the district, I can't believe that you're going to have any funds available to get anybody doing a tree that isn't directly chucking stuff in people's
Absolutely.
gutters.
There's a black poplar tree that's beside the gate as well. And I've had an arborist look at that one because there was some concerns from the residents as much as the allotment holders with the relatively new block of houses that's
Yeah.
behind. He's deemed that it's safe and there's no problem with it. So, but the other trees, I would have to check for you.
If you could come back to me at some point, I can at least go back and say
Definitely.
yes or no.
Yeah, of course.
By the way, we forgot to vote on the changes to allotment charges. Just quick show of hands. Yeah, okay. Moving on to 12.2, to consider and vote on the charges recommended for the Obelisk Community Room facility. So would you like to speak to that?
Yes, I can do. So at present, we had the arrangement with the Scout Hut leader that they were going to manage bookings and charges, and they would keep a management fee, and we have the money that people pay to hire the rooms. However, we hadn't actually set a fee. So this is bringing that to the committee now. At the moment, we only have the one paying tenant with the men's shed. So I've suggested that we increase their fee to £10 for their 2-hour sessions once a week, that we invoice directly to the men's shed rather than it going through the Scout Hut, just to make it simpler. And I benchmarked against other village halls to come up with my suggestions for the general hire fees for people that may want to hire, other tenants that may want to hire the space. I've also since discovered that it isn't VAT chargeable, so you have to ignore VAT. That was a misunderstanding. So it's I've suggested £7 an hour, no VAT, 25 for half day, 4 hours, or £50 for full day. I can speak if anyone has any further questions. Clarify.
Councillor?
Well, all I would say is that I think that's a £50 for an all-day booking. It's a very competitive price that reflects current state of the building.
Yeah.
And were the building immaculate with functioning toilets and perfectly good floors and lockable stuff and everything worked, then perhaps we'd be considering something more like Daglingworth, which I see here is £270 a day. But I think you have
Got a bar there as well.
Well, there you go. That's really worth an extra £10 per hour. So I think that it's a perfectly sensible figure to come up with, given where we are in with the state of that building.
Yeah, fair.
We're on a journey and we're getting there bit by bit. So I just like to thank you, Natalie, for all the work you did on this. It's fantastic. I believe we have to vote on this. Is that correct?
Yes.
So can we vote to accept this? Yep. Okay. 13. Any other correspondence received? I believe there's been none. 14, the all-member briefing and wider communication. How do you feel you want to take this one forward? I think it's a short sentence about each of the points we've done. The key thing being the was discussed there with the charges.
Charges.
I think that's probably of interest for the other councillors.
Tenants.
Yes.
Chair, if I may, it also gives another chance to remind councillors that we really are keen on what their views might be in terms of how they want to spend the budget, because you have asked a lot.
This is the fun bit. We've got money to spend.
So again, it's another point. It's trying to get more feedback. Might be worthwhile on that brief to say, hey, last chance, guys.
Good point.
Yeah.
Next meeting.
Oh, yes, sorry, last point is, Mark, can you tell me when the next meeting will be?
It's on the 9th of April at 4:30. The same venue.
Sounds good to me. Sounds good to me. Well, I declare the meeting over.
Thank you.
Can I just ask then, if the meeting's closed,
Yeah.
who is the best person for me to speak to talk about the Obelisk Community Centre and the men's shed use of it?
Well, the people on this side of the room, basically, we've got a chair and we've got Mark and Natalie here. So